What if I told you the greatest footballer of a generation was once labelled incomplete? Years of brilliance, countless trophies, yet one missing moment haunted him and an entire nation. Every final felt heavier, every miss louder, every doubt sharper. But on one unforgettable night, pressure turned into destiny, heartbreak into history. How did Lionel Messi flip the script, silence the debate forever and touch immortality? Stay with me because the final twist changes everything. We'll explain everything in this video step by step. Don't skip it. The clock is ticking, the stadium is shaking, and the entire planet is holding its breath. This is not just a final, this is destiny calling. Under the blinding lights of Lusail, one man stands at the centre of the football universe. Lionel Messi, carrying the weight of a nation, the dreams of generations, and a story that refused to end quietly. For years they said he was missing something, too small, too silent, too gentle for the chaos of a World Cup final. They counted his club trophies, replayed his heartbreaks and turned every defeat into a question mark. 4 finals lost, one nation waiting, one legacy hanging in the balance, and here he is again. One last dance, one final chance, no rewind button left. Argentina strike first, and who else? Messi steps up calm as if he's taking a penalty in his backyard, not in front of billions. Goal. The net ripples, the crowd explodes, and suddenly hope has a heartbeat. Argentina fly confidence surging, and before you can blink, boom, another goal. 2-0. The dream is breathing, but football never reads the script. France wake up, Mbappé ignites, 2 goals in 2 minutes, and just like that, the final turns into a thriller. Hands on heads, hearts in mouths, and Messi, still running, still fighting, 35 years old and pressing like a teenager who just fell in love with the game. Extra time, chaos, magic. Messi again, pouncing, reacting, believing, pushing the ball over the line as if dragging history with it. 3-2 Argentina. Surely this is it, surely. Destiny has chosen its king. But no, one more twist, another Mbappé strike, hat-trick, penalties, of course it had to be penalties. This is where legends are either crowned or crushed forever. Messi walks up first, no theatrics, no drama, just belief. He scores, the keeper guesses wrong. Argentina breathe again, then comes the saves. One, then another, the noise becomes unbearable. The moment arrives, the final kick, the ball flies, the net bulges, and listen to that roar. Messi drops to his knees. Tears, laughter, relief. 20 years of pressure evaporate in a single second. Teammates pile on. A nation erupts. From Rosario streets to Buenos Aires balconies, from cafes to living rooms. Argentina is alive. Then the image that freezes time. Messi walks forward. The golden trophy waits. He lifts it finally. No debate left. No what ifs. No missing pieces. The boy who left Argentina at 13 returns as a world champion. 8 Ballon d'Ors, countless records, and now the crown. When Lionel Messi lifted the FIFA World Cup, he didn't just win a tournament, he touched immortality. For years, the story followed him like a shadow, whispering questions every time he stepped onto the pitch in an Argentina shirt. He was brilliant, they said, but was he complete? A magician with the ball, yes, but where was the ultimate proof? Every World Cup became a checkpoint, every Copa America a test of patience, and every final a reminder of how cruel football could be. The expectations were never fair, never light, because when a nation sees you as the chosen one, there is no room for ordinary greatness. From the moment Lionel Messi debuted, the comparisons began, the pressure mounted, and the idea of destiny was attached to his name before he was old enough to fully understand its weight. In 2014, he came painfully close. Germany extra time, one missed chance that replayed endlessly in the minds of fans. The image of Messi staring at the World Cup trophy during the awards ceremony became a symbol of unfinished business. Then came the Copa America heartbreaks. Finals lost, penalties missed, tears hidden behind a beard and a forced smile. Each defeat wasn't just a loss, it was fuel for critics who claimed he disappeared when it mattered most. They ignored the miles he ran, the chances he created, the teammates he lifted, focusing only on the one thing he didn't have. The pressure reached a breaking point in 2016. Another final lost, another penalty heartbreak, and then the words no one expected, Messi stepping away from the national team. It felt like the story was ending, not with a roar, but with exhaustion, a genius worn down by expectations that no human could comfortably carry. But something pulled him back. Maybe it was pride, maybe it was unfinished destiny, maybe it was the simple love of wearing sky blue and white. Whatever it was, he returned quieter than before, but more determined. Years passed, younger players arrived, managers changed, systems shifted, and Messi evolved. He was no longer just a dribbler, no longer only the scorer. He became the guide, the calm centre in the storm, the man who spoke less and showed more. The 2018 World Cup ended in frustration again. Another chapter. Critics rushed to write as failure, but inside the dressing room belief was growing. Then came redemption in South America. Copa America 2021, Brazil, Maracana, a final that finally went Argentina's way. Tears flowed, not of relief alone, but of validation. Yet even then, the whispers didn't fully stop. One trophy wasn't enough to silence decades of debate. The World Cup still loomed like the final boss, the ultimate unanswered question. By the time Qatar arrived, everyone knew this was it. No more waiting, no next time. Messi at 35, surrounded by players who grew up idolising him, stepping onto the world's biggest stage with scars from the past and fire in his eyes, carrying every loss, every criticism, every sleepless night, knowing that this tournament would decide how the story is remembered, knowing that destiny rarely knocks twice, knowing that this was the last road left to walk, the last chance to turn years of heartbreak and doubt into something eternal. From the very first whistle of the final, it felt like football had decided to put on a show for the ages. This wasn't just a match, it was a roller coaster that refused to slow down. Argentina came out sharp, fearless, playing with the confidence of a team that knew exactly what was at stake. Every pass had intent, every run carried belief, and France looked stunned, as if they had walked into a storm they weren't prepared for. When the breakthrough came, it felt inevitable. Messi stepped up, ice in his veins, and placed the ball with the calm of a man who had lived this moment 1,000 times in his mind. The second goal followed like a punch to the gut, a flowing move, precision and speed working in perfect harmony, and suddenly Argentina were 2 goals ahead on the biggest stage in football. The stadium shook, the fans roared, and for a moment it looked like the dream was unfolding. Without resistance. France were quiet, their threats muted, their confidence drained, and Argentina seemed in control of destiny itself. But football never lets you relax, especially in a World Cup final. Out of nowhere, the game flipped. A penalty sparked life into France, and suddenly Kylian Mbappé turned the final into his personal highlight reel. 2 goals in the blink of an eye, and just like that, everything Argentina thought they had was gone. The noise turned from celebration to disbelief. Players stared at each other, fans clutched their chests, and the match reset itself in the most brutal way possible. 90 minutes weren't enough to contain this madness. Extra time arrived, carrying exhaustion and chaos. Legs were heavy, lungs were burning, but the drama kept escalating. Messi once again found himself in the right place at the right time, reacting faster than everyone else, forcing the ball over the line as if sheer willpower was guiding it. Argentina were ahead again, and the bench exploded. This had to be it. The script was too perfect, the moment too poetic, but fate had one more twist waiting. Another penalty, another Mbappé goal, a hat-trick in a World Cup final. Something that felt unreal even as it happened. 3-3, history colliding head-on with heartbreak. Every fan, regardless of allegiance, knew they were witnessing something extraordinary. This was football at its most dramatic, its most unforgiving, its most beautiful. Penalties loomed like a final judgment. No tactics left, no room for excuses, just nerve versus fear. Messi walked up first, carrying the weight of a nation with each step. He scored, clean and confident, setting the tone. Then came the saves. Argentina's goalkeeper standing tall, reading minds, stopping dreams, turning pressure into power. Each miss from France sent shockwaves through the crowd, each save pulling Argentina closer to the edge of history. The final kick arrived with the silence of a held breath. One strike separating immortality from agony. The ball hit the net and the world exploded. Players collapsed, fans screamed, tears flowed freely. And in that moment, the match transformed from a game into a legend. A final that had everything: brilliance, despair, chaos, courage. A night where football pushed emotions to their absolute limit. A night that felt less like 90 minutes and more like an eternity of pure drama unfolding under the brightest lights imaginable. Through every match of the tournament, his presence felt different, heavier, as if the game itself leaned toward him in decisive moments. This was no longer the young dribbler dancing past defenders purely on instinct. This was a leader carrying responsibility in every touch, every decision. Messi played with a calm authority, reading the rhythm of the match like a conductor guiding an orchestra, knowing when to accelerate, when to pause, and when to strike. Even when the ball wasn't at his feet, his influence stretched across the pitch, pulling defenders out of position, creating space for others to believe. The goals mattered, of course, because goals always matter in World Cups. But It was the moments between them that told the deeper story. A perfectly weighted pass under pressure, a clever turn to escape two markers, a quiet word to a teammate after a mistake. These were the signs of a player who had learned from every heartbreak, who understood that greatness at this stage required more than flair. When Argentina stumbled in the tournament, when doubts resurfaced and tension crept in, it was Messi who steadied the ship, who demanded the ball when others hesitated. Against stronger opponents, he absorbed fouls, rose from the grass and carried on, as if pain were just background noise. Defenders try to intimidate him, crowd him, push him off his rhythm, but he responded with intelligence rather than anger. A quick 1-2, a disguised pass, a sudden burst of acceleration, always choosing the smartest solution instead of the loudest. His leadership wasn't built on shouting or gestures, it was built on trust, on the certainty that when the moment arrived he would deliver. You could see it in the eyes of his teammates. Players who once looked nervous now played with freedom, knowing that Messi was there to guide them through chaos. Youngsters ran harder, pressed deeper, took risks they might have avoided before because belief is contagious when carried by the right figure. In the dressing room, on the training ground, on the pitch, he became the emotional anchor of the team, the reminder of why they were there and what they were fighting for. As the tournament progressed, the narrative shifted. It was no longer about what Messi lacked, but about how complete he had become. He scored crucial goals, provided decisive assists, and drew fouls that changed the flow of matches. He stepped up for penalties with composure that bordered on fearless, never hiding, never deflecting responsibility. Each successful kick felt like a statement, not of ego, but of acceptance, a man fully embracing the weight placed on his shoulders. In the final, even as fatigue threatened to slow him down, his mind stayed sharp. He pressed defenders, tracked back and chased loose balls with a hunger that embarrassed younger legs. This was leadership by example, the purest form. When Argentina needed calm, he offered calm. When they needed belief, he offered belief. When they needed a spark, he created it. Every touch carried intention, every movement whispered confidence. By the time the final whistle approached, it was impossible to separate Argentina's journey from Messi's evolution. It wasn't just a team following a superstar. It was a collective built around trust, resilience, and a leader who had grown through pain into something greater than talent alone. A player who transformed struggle into strength, pressure into purpose, and responsibility into moments that defined an era of football history. When the final moment arrived, it felt as if time itself slowed down, stretching the seconds to allow the weight of history to settle. The match was over, the noise was overwhelming, and bodies were scattered across the pitch, some in disbelief, some in pure joy. In the middle of it all stood Lionel Messi, exhausted, emotional, and finally free. Years of expectation seemed to fall away from his shoulders as teammates surrounded him, each embrace carrying gratitude as much as celebration. This was not just victory, it was release. As the ceremony began, the stadium transformed into a sea of blue and white, flags waving, songs echoing, tears flowing without shame. Messi walked toward the podium with the same quiet composure he always carried, but his eyes told a different story. They reflected every sacrifice, every long journey away from home, every moment of doubt endured in silence. When the trophy was placed in front of him, it wasn't just gold and silver, it was the physical shape of a lifetime spent chasing perfection. The lift was simple, almost gentle, but its meaning was enormous. In that instant, decades of debate dissolved. The arguments, the comparisons, the endless discussions about legacy suddenly felt irrelevant. Football had delivered its verdict in the most poetic way possible. The boy from Rosario, who once needed medical treatment just to grow, now stood taller than the game itself. The image burned into memory instantly, destined to be replayed for generations. Around the world, the reaction was immediate and emotional. Streets led with people who had waited their entire lives for this moment. Families hugged, strangers cried together, and celebrations erupted from balconies and cafes thousands of miles away from the stadium. For Argentina, this wasn't just a sporting triumph, it was a shared release of pride and joy, a reminder of what belief and perseverance can achieve. Messi's journey reached its completion not with arrogance, but with humility. He didn't demand recognition, he earned it through consistency, sacrifice and loyalty. Even at the peak of success, he remained the same quiet figure, letting his football speak louder than words. His legacy was no longer built only on numbers or records, but on emotion, inspiration and connection. He became proof that greatness doesn't always roar, sometimes it whispers and still shakes the world. In the aftermath, younger players looked at him with awe, not just for what he won, but for how he carried himself. He showed that leadership can be calm, that resilience can be silent, and that dreams can survive even the harshest setbacks. Coaches, fans and players alike understood they had witnessed the closing chapter of something truly special. With the World Cup finally in his hands, Messi crossed the final threshold from legend to something beyond titles. His name no longer needed defending, explaining or comparing. It stood complete, sealed by the most coveted prize in football, a symbol of persistence rewarded, of faith justified, of a journey that began with a child chasing a ball and ended with a man lifting an entire nation into footballing eternity. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe.